And hello and welcome to Open, the show that's open to the Bronx and the rest of the world, right to you. I am Daren, Jaime. Today we're going to update you on what's happening in and around our borough and New York City. Coming up, we'll discuss how one platform is helping the next generation prepare for personal and professional success. Plus, we'll learn about some of the health challenges that veterans in the community are facing. We'll give you some more details a little later on in the show. Then, we'll talk about how one company aims to educate and empower communities on the significance of water hydration. Then also we'll discuss how the Salvation Army has been working to keep music and the arts alive for youth of all ages. Finally, we'll learn how some homeowners should prep their lawn and garden to withstand drought conditions. We got some great, excellent tips. So stay tuned because all this and much more is heading your way. Because right now, we're officially open. And hello, everyone. I am Daren, Jaime, and you are now watching Open, a live program that is bringing the Bronx and New York City straight to you. We also want to welcome our viewers to the Manhattan Neighborhood Network, as Open is being broadcast simultaneously on MNN's channels. You can stay connected to us on all of our social media platforms at BronxNet TV. Some things have been going on throughout the course of this past week. We'll take you through some of it with our Bronx updates. We start off with community news. Raul de la Cruz was shot 6 times by the NYPD in the Bronx while having a schizophrenic episode. Now, de la Cruz's family is demanding accountability and policy changes in the way that police handle situations involving mentally ill individuals. Our BronxNet reporter Chris Kamula has more details.
A speak out is in motion and a community is in pain after a Bronx man was shot 6 times by the New York Police Department during a schizophrenic episode. Family and supporters held a speak out just outside the gates of the 52nd Precinct to demand justice and accountability be given to 42-year-old Raul de la Cruz, who was shot by an NYPD officer 6 times after responding to a 311 call. Social activist group Dare to Struggle, alongside family and friends of de la Cruz, are voicing their demands in response to the situation.
First demand is to release the names of the officers who shot Raul, release the body cam footage, and the 311 call that his father was on for around 30 minutes. The second one is to punish those officers in question. And the third is to stop the criminalization of mental health in general.
CBS News confirms the timeline of events involved the NYPD arriving at the location mentioned in the 311 call, which was rerouted to the 52nd Precinct. De la Cruz allegedly wielded a knife as he approached responding officers before he was critically shot 6 times. He was rushed to the hospital, where he currently remains in stable condition. Police say De La Cruz is charged with attempted aggravated assault on an officer and criminal possession of a weapon. Meanwhile, the investigation of NYPD conduct is ongoing by the Force Investigation Division, but the community is curbing optimism.
The overall situation is that after decades and decades of promises of reforms and promises of things changing around the issues of the criminalization of mental health, police brutality, we're met with nothing for the general masses of people who are up against the criminalization of mental health, who are up against police brutality.
Dare to Struggle and supporters of De La Cruz alike say protests will remain consistent until demands are met and justice is properly served. Reporting from BronxNet, I'm Chris Kamela.
And thank you, Chris. In other news, you've heard the old saying, the sky is falling. But have you heard? The city is sinking. In New York City, environmental justice issues persist, with a recent study stating that the city is sinking due to the weight of its skyscrapers at an average rate of 1 to 2 millimeters per year. Here in the Bronx, the summit was recently held, focusing on the intersection of community and power, equitable climate actions. Our Bronx.net reporter, Kim Nolene, brings us the details.
The Center for Engaged Learning at Fordham University held its summit on community power and addressed issues of climate change. The summit included keynote speakers and community organizations that view efforts towards environmental justice as their core mission.
We're not starting with Fordham. We're starting with community voices and with the community leadership and community experts here in the Bronx that have been doing environmental justice and climate justice work for so long already.
Organizations like Cafeteria Culture attended the summit, highlighting the work they do to educate elementary school kids on the importance of a plastic-free environment and ways these kids can make a difference in their communities.
As soon as they can understand things like this, it's important for them to know because they're passionate about it. We see it when we teach them about environmental justice and the plastic problem in the classroom. They want to do something about it. And so the sooner they know, the sooner they can do something about it. And as they get older, they'll only have more agency and more resources to do so.
The summit also served as an opportunity to allow college students to express their passion for community change with their campus club, Students for Environmental Justice and Action. And before changing the world, one of their goals is to enact change on campus grounds.
We're doing divestment, trying to encourage the Fordham University to divest from fossil fuels. And so that is the petition is going to help allow for Fordham alum, Fordham community members, Fordham University community members and students to be able to sign that petition and say, this is something we want the school to make a priority.
It's very important for young people to be involved in this because even though this is an issue which has been bestowed upon us, we need to take the action to try and make it better for the generations that come after us.
Host of the summit and host of Bronx.net's Open Friday, Rena Valentine, spoke on the message events like these send to young people and to future generations.
Coming from them, which is their world in the future, and they will lead, and the fact that they are interested and they are making an effort to educate themselves in every aspect of environmental justice. Once again, I will leave you with the saying of, it leaves me hopeful in knowing that the intent to leave things better than we found them is being addressed.
Reporting for Bronx.net, Kibben Aline.
Hey, I know that lady. That's Rena Valentine, our Friday host. Listen, thank you, Kim. That's all the time we have for our Bronx updates. We are taking a quick break. We will have more open when we return.
Even though we didn't grow up together, he's my favorite brother.
Hey, sis.
I'm the baby of the family, and he's the gentle giant.
What you know about poor Georgia?
Man, please, that's a classic.
You know when they say people are a rare breed? Yeah, he's that.
I'm sorry, I'll be back in a few hours.
Don't worry, Shug, you know I'm for you.
I know.
Go get the football.
That was my favorite memory. He was always for ya. This is a true story of me, Bridget Floyd, and this guy, George Perry Floyd Jr., my big brother.
And we are back. Fearless Plus is a digital platform that's offering a space where students can share their unique narratives, gain some access to valuable resources, and unlock growth and developmental opportunities. The company has partnered with 4 Bronx-based schools in District 75, ensuring that students with individualized education programs receive essential resources and support. And joining me now and sharing more, we've got the founder and CEO of Fearless Plus, Deepali Vyas, and we are glad to have you.
Well, thank you for having me. Appreciate us being on the show and talking about all things fearless.
Yeah, well, it is a fearless initiative to really deal with the area of bridging the gap for so many students. And I want to take the time to really share a little bit about the work that you're doing, particularly when it comes to that development phase, because we understand that people develop at different paces. And part of what you're doing is really ensuring that that development continues even despite of a child's age.
That's right. I mean, I think one of the reasons why we founded Fearless was to empower future generations to succeed. And we're talking about success in their personal life, their academic life, and then eventually their professional lives. And what we're trying to do is equip them with the confidence, the mindset, and the tools to tackle the real world. And so a lot of times we think about traditional education and the reality of the working world, and there's a bit of that gap, and that's what we are trying to fill. We understand that everybody's experiences are unique. And one of the big things for us is when we are teaching or enriching students' lives with the content around real world skills, such as emotional intelligence and things like that, we want them to be able to showcase that on a profile that shares their story and builds their narrative. And that's one of the key driving factors of our platform. We want to make sure that students are prepared and they are able to showcase a lot more about themselves and more than a test score or a grade on their report card.
Deepali, I know that you've been spending some time in District 75, and so you've been working with some schools out there. Give us a little insight as to what's going on in District 75 and the work that you've been able to accomplish.
Yeah, so really important, and we're really honored and privileged to be helping Bronx-based schools, and one of the districts, District 75, has implemented our Fearless platform. And with District 75, there's a lot of individual education plans. There's one-on-one teachings. There's a lot of special needs kids. And so we need to work with them as educators and administrators on their particular needs. So when you think about whether or not these students are going to have, what are they going to do beyond high school? What are their post-secondary plans? Whether it's college, whether it's going into the workforce, those are the things that Fearless is actually helping with. We're having them access content that's going to help their communication skills, also things like financial literacy, confidence building, storytelling, how they are actually going to interview and do mock interviews, think about negotiations, all the skills that you and I wish we had in high school. And that's the stuff that we're bridging the gap on. And for those students, they're able to create a really strong digital profile that they can put on their common application if they're applying to college, or on an internship application or a job application. We give them access to opportunities no matter what their path is in life post high school.
Give me your perspective. When it comes to parents, sometimes navigating this process can be a little bit rough, particularly when it comes to a child's development and issues. You were trying to get the best done for your child, but yet and still you understand that in addition to trying to make sure that your child is taken care of, you also have to deal with the system and sometimes the processes. But you also work with navigating parents through some of these processes that sometimes can be quite laborious, and from the mouths of some parents, you know, a lot of red tape and a lot of stuff that I just don't get.
That's right. And so what we also do is provide parents a nice checklist of the things that they can be doing with their students and kids at home on how they should be progressing with their individualized plan. And so parents need just as many resources as the students do. And we want to make sure that, you know, we are being really inclusive. It's not just on the teachers. It's not just on the guidance counselors. And it's not the burden of the students as well. It's all of us working together in order to create a plan and then set them up for success.
And so you've been doing this for a minute. Talk a little bit about yourself, because, you know, you're an educator and a mom, and I understand you used to work for Korn Ferry for about 22 years, and now you decided to, transition over and do this?
That's right. So I've had about 20 plus years of experience in executive search. And the cool part of my job was to get, you know, really big executives into really interesting C-suite roles. And then during the pandemic, I started thinking about, I have a teenage son at home. What is he learning in school? what do I see in the reality of the workforce as I'm working with some of the biggest leaders in the Fortune 500? And where can I help? Where can I bottle this experience that I have and bring it to the younger generation? And a lot of the time that I spent was understanding I know what a good leader looks like, right? I've spent I've reviewed over 100,000 resumes. I've interviewed over 40,000 executives. I know what good looks like, and I want to make sure that our young people understand what it means to be a strong, successful, emotionally intelligent person entering the workforce. And I think that's where the gap is. I think what's happening today is that, some statistics that I can share with you. People with higher emotional intelligence tend to earn more money than people with lower emotional intelligence, like $29,000 more. So that means over a lifetime, you can earn an additional $1.7 million. And schools aren't necessarily teaching emotional intelligence, and it's not their fault. But a child needs to be learning these skills because it's going to impact which college they get into, which jobs they eventually apply for. And so those are the things that we're bringing through our platform. We want these students to build these skills in order to be even more attractive to future employers and colleges.
When you talk about emotional intelligence and you bring those numbers into view, I think a lot of people will say, wow, that's a huge connection to make. And a lot of people sometimes, I mean, you dropped the gem on me. I totally was clueless on this, but there's so much attached to that.
Exactly. One of the things that we always say is that hard skills get you hired and soft skills get you fired, right? And that's a really big statement. When you think about the working world, a lot of times, yes, you can go in and maybe code and do your job, but you are working with other people, and that takes a lot more of these soft skills that we talk about. And soft skills are the things that are going to help you progress and thrive in the workforce. And those are the things that get you promoted. Those are the skills that you absolutely need in order to actually build and grow your career. And despite having all of that, right, you need to be able to start building your personal brand. And that's what we teach young people. Particularly in District 75, we are telling young people, as you're learning these skills, you need to be able to showcase them because the world is now trending towards building a personal brand. You need to have a digital footprint that represents you in a holistic manner. When you think about, these colleges that are making big statements about, tests are optional. So how else are these young people supposed to stand out? And with the Fearless profile, they're able to do a 3-minute video elevator pitch. They can share their entire story, what they're passionate about. They can showcase their athletics. They can showcase all the clubs that they're involved in. It paints a broader picture about a student, and it really helps a college admissions officer understand who the student is or a future employer. And they can realize, here's an extroverted person. I think they're going to be great for my sales team, and I really want to bring them into my particular organization. So these are the things that we want to have students be really prepared for. When high schools talk about college and career readiness, this is the stuff. It's the soft skills that we're trying to focus on in order to, again, promote academic and professional success.
Well, Deepali, you don't need me to tell you. I think you're on to something. So keep up the great work. And really, honestly, some very interesting things to know when it comes to really bridging the gap in child development. Thank you for what you're doing. And, of course, we're going to try to get some people tuned your way so that way they can get the necessary resources to advance their child and also for themselves as a parent. So thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you so much. And everybody can find us on fearlessplus.com. We're on social media. It's Fearless Plus. So you just spell it out, Plus. And one of the things that I'll leave your program with is think of us as LinkedIn meets TikTok meets Masterclass. We are trying to combine those platforms into one platform for a fearless future for our students.
All right. Well, thank you. Kind of stole my thunder there, but what I'll do is I'll tell our viewers again, if they do need some more information, please go visit the website at fearlessplus.com. And we encourage you, don't go anywhere. We got more open coming up right after this.
Where did the time go? Somehow I lost all those years. Where did the time go? I don't know how I got here. Or how did I get here?
You've done the hard part. You quit smoking. Now do the easy part and get scanned for lung cancer. If you smoked, you may still be at risk, but early detection could save your life. Talk to your doctor and learn more at savedbythescan.org.
And welcome back. Military Appreciation Month in May was a time to reflect on the dedicated service given by our military members in our communities. However, there is a cause to celebrate and appreciate all year round, so we're kicking off June with a very special guest from the VNS Health Veterans Program. The daily contributions made by our servicemen and women are worth calling out not just on Veterans Day and Memorial Day, but actually they deserve attention 365 days a year. And here now to share more of her perspective on some of the health challenges the veterans in our community are facing is the director of the VNS Health Veterans Program, Contessa Officer. And Contessa, we're glad to have you with us.
Thanks, Darren. I'm happy to be here.
I think I am missing her in my, well, I can't hear her on the floor, producer, but I just want to let you know, or I should say Mr. Director. But let me go here, Contessa, and talk. First of all, thank you for the work that you do, particularly when it comes to the lives of veterans. And when we look at veterans, we know that sometimes they do have unique needs. Would you share with us a little bit more about some of the unique things that veterans need by way of services?
Absolutely. Again, thank you for having me here. So the program at VNS Health, our focus is on veterans, but not only veterans, but their families. We want to help ensure that they're getting access and support for all of their healthcare needs. And that can encompass both their physical and their mental health. So with veterans, they've served the nation honorably and they've been selfless in their giving. And in return, we want them to know that they deserve excellent and compassionate care, no matter their age, but especially as they're getting older, those supports are important. So there are certain factors that may impact their health. For example, access to housing, addressing food insecurity, or just being mindful of factors like substance abuse disorders. These plague our veterans as well. So at VNS Health, we want to connect veterans with VA benefits and any resources that are out there in the community that can help them. So for some of our veterans, especially those who served in Vietnam and World War II, there can be a stigma about utilizing their veteran benefits. There's often a concern that using their benefits might take them away from another veteran who needs them more. Our team at VNS Health is composed of former military and veterans, as well as veteran benefits experts, and we understand the needs of veterans. And all of us have this streak of advocacy. Many veterans who come back, they don't feel like they want or need to access these available benefits. So we're here to tell them that they can and they should access their benefits, especially beforehand, before they get to a point where they're in a crisis. Also, when it comes to medical care and support, a lot of the work that we do involves just listening and talking with the veterans. We want to find out what are their specific needs, and then we want to recognize them also for their service that they've given to our country. So with VNS Health, we focus on supporting veterans and their families across the continuum of care to make sure that they have the best medical care that they can get all the way through their life.
And Contessa, let me jump in and talk to you a little bit about servicing veterans. I know you mentioned before about certain veterans that participate in Vietnam War, what their perspective may be. Do you find that veterans from different eras cater to different things in terms of needs?
That's a great question. Certainly, we find that when it comes to Vietnam veterans, their experience coming back has been very different from other veterans. So, one of the things that we try to look at is their experience. Being veterans, they have similarities, but they also have differences. So, listening, asking questions, trying to find out what are their specific needs. With Vietnam War veterans, oftentimes they just want to be acknowledged for their service. They want to have someone who understands that they have specific challenges and needs. So, what we try to do is make sure that we are attentive to their specific needs and then we address those accordingly.
One would not believe that there is a stigma when it comes to utilizing benefits. I think that sometimes we say, hey, we got the benefits, we'll take full use of them. But in the minds of veterans, sometimes there is a stigma when it comes to utilizing benefits. You spoke a little bit about it earlier. Please break that down a little bit further for our viewers, because I think it's important to understand, the mindset sometimes of some of our veterans when we talk about being selfless, how they continue to even be selfless when it comes to this area.
Absolutely. So oftentimes they'll return back from their active duty service and they may have physical and emotional scars. And our team is trained to deal with that. So often with a veteran, they may have service connected benefits that are available to them based on their need. They have unique needs, and these are conditions that arise from military service. For instance, some of our veterans may have cancer, brain injuries, illnesses such as Lou Gehrig's disease, Parkinson's disease, prostate cancer, or even Alzheimer's disease. So for many veterans, also they struggle with isolation, right? It can create extra stress for them and anxiety, as well as for their families. So sometimes what we try to do is we look at what is their specific issue that they're dealing with. And for instance, some veterans struggle with PTSD, others struggle with depression, and some have issues with mental or physical issues. So based on that, we do an assessment and then we connect them to services. For example, isolation is a real issue with veterans, especially our elders, and it makes it harder for them to attend things that are available to them, like support groups, and for them to get together with other members of the military community, which has been for them their brotherhood, their brothers and sisters, and veterans. And it's difficult sometimes for them to even be a part of the community that has supported them in the past. And we try to reinforce their sense of self-worth by reestablishing those connections. We see quite a bit of isolation that took place also during the pandemic. So VNS Health stayed in touch with veterans during that time as well to make sure that they had someone that was listening to them. Much of what we do at our program is to let veterans and their families know that we have resources that are available to them and to assure them that they're able to get the most out of them, which is not always easy. We work to provide care that honors their sacrifice, not just for the veterans, but also for their families, because their families did serve as well.
I want to talk about you for a moment and talk about your experience, because obviously you bring a certain experience set that you bring into your work and connect it to for us. How does your experience really parallel with the work that you're doing?
Absolutely. So just having experience in the military does give you valuable perspective. It makes it easier for when you are speaking with veterans to understand some of the things that they're going through. You can share your own experience and let them know that you really care, and they can feel the sincerity. My father served in Vietnam, and I saw firsthand how challenging it was for him, and also for my family. When he suffered a stroke and he was in need of hospice, we had to access these VA benefits, and it was not easy trying to figure that out. So I watched my mom and then eventually myself trying to work through this process to get him all the care that he needed. So we want to make sure that our clients at VNS Health are able to navigate this system and not do it alone. So we work with the families to determine what benefits they qualify for. Some of the benefits could be disability claims, access to the VA healthcare system. Again, a lot of veterans don't use that system. There are spousal supports. We have a lot of spouses who realize that there are benefits that they also can qualify for, money that can help them even when their spouse passes on, that can allow them to even be able to stay in their home. We can even help them replace lost medals. Some of our veterans, they've lost the medals that they've earned, so we can help them get those back. And we make connections for them. That's the key, making the connections.
Right.
Most people in the military, they have a lot of pride and they can be very independent. And we want them to know that asking for help and seeking resources is not, it does not make you weak. It actually is something that you're entitled to, and we want to make sure that you take advantage of it.
Yeah.
We're very well connected with the VA. So we know the process and we know who you need to talk to. We know what forms you need to fill out. And we just want to make it realistic for them as well. We want them to know there's a timeline, and just so that they know when they're going through the process, they don't have to go through it alone. And one of the things that we really try to do is do a lot of outreach. We want veterans and their families to know across the 5 boroughs that they have support through VNS Health, and that we really appreciate their service.
Yeah, thank you so much, Contessa, for sharing with us the work that goes on in really helping to improve the lives of veterans. Thank you for your service and servicing them and what you do to really stabilize and to make sure they're taken care of. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, Daren, as well.
All righty. Well, I want to let you know if you want more information, go ahead and visit the website at vnshealth.org, and then also call them 800-675-0391. Again, that number 800-675-0391. A special shout out to all of our veterans for the work and the service that they've done in helping to keep our country safe. All right, we encourage you, don't go anywhere. We got more open coming up right after this.
Most hiring algorithms would scream me out.
Some bosses couldn't see me as a leader.
I've run this place for 20 years, but I still need to prove that I'm more than what you see on paper.
I've been running code as long as I've been able to reach a keyboard.
This is what I do. It's second nature for me, coordinating 100 details at once.
It's the way my mind works. I have a very mechanical brain.
I sold them on my skills.
You gotta be so good they can't ignore you.
My magic is
analytics and empathy. That's how I'm getting clients. You have to have the confidence in yourself to show up and defy the odds.
I am more than who I am on paper.
I never got a college degree. And today, I'm the CEO of my own company. People want to tell me I'm one in a million, when actually I'm one of millions. Stars are all around us. It's time for them to shine.
And welcome back. The Salvation Army is the leading provider offering free or affordable music and creative arts education to students of all ages. Now, recently, over 300 young individuals ranging from grade school to high school participated in the Divisional Star Search Music and Creative Arts Talent Competition that was organized by the Salvation Army Greater New York's Division Corps Music Creative Arts Program. And joining us now is the Salvation Army's Music Creative Arts Director, Andrew Boynton, and Level 4 dance solo of the Bronx Citadel, Rosbelly, Rosario, and glad to have you both with us.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Thank you. And Andrew, I'll start with you. For somebody who may not be so familiar with the Citadel, give us a little bit about the Salvation Army's Bronx Citadel.
So we have 38 core community centers all across the greater New York area. So in these locations is where we handle all of our social service operations, as well as our church operations. But also this is where we have our music and arts programming. So we have 2 locations specifically in the Bronx, one in the Tremont area and one that we call Bronx Citadel. So the Citadel is essentially our building that we operate out of.
And so we have this star search going on. And before we get to bring in Rosebelly, give us a little bit about how we got here.
So we have all these music programs that we operate at these 38 locations, and about 35 years ago, we decided that a great way to motivate our young people to continue to excel and to learn is to have this exciting competition. So we put different community centers all together to compete. They all learn some of the same items, and they get to compete against their friends from different locations around the greater New York area. There's trophies involved. But the most exciting part of this is the people who win at the divisional Star Search get to go on to the next level, which is going to be in Hershey, Pennsylvania in June.
And so we want to introduce one of those winners, and one of those winners are Rosbelly Rosario, and she is a level 4 dance solo first place winner. And congratulations, Rosbelly. Glad to have you.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
So tell me a little bit about the competition, and you know, was it easy? Was it hard? What was it like?
Honestly, a word I can say to describe it was really fun, but it also felt like I had a lot of pressure on me because I have been competing in Star Search since I was really little. So I always feel like I have to live up to my own title, but I also have to remind myself that I'm not doing this for myself and I'm doing this for the Lord. So
Yeah, and so you are a level 4 dance solo winner. Talk to me about preparation. How much do you practice, and how often are you getting it in?
Well, now, before Star Search, I used to practice on Mondays when we used to go to 14th Street. So I would practice every other week and mainly practice by myself. I had to do a lot of it by myself. But I also had my dance teacher, Nicole, who was constantly helping me through the whole thing. She choreographed my solo. So practice was honestly really easy, I'm not gonna lie. There was times where it was hard and took a lot of energy and a lot of time, but it all was worth it in the end.
Yeah. Andrew pointed out that now that you are a winner, you're on your way towards Hershey, Pennsylvania. How much pressure are you feeling, given the fact that, hey, I won out here locally, but now we're stepping it up and we're going to go get some other cores out there? What's the pressure like for you now?
Honestly, it's very high, in my opinion, because I have never competed in territorials in person. I won second place in territorials when it was online, but in person is a completely different story. I've never competed a solo in territorials, so I'm honestly really nervous, and I feel like the pressure is very up there.
Yeah. Andrew, on a more serious note, I mean, obviously it's a competition, but honestly, we know that these are some young people who are getting together and really, as you say, singing for the Lord. But talk to us about the fact of just what it does for camaraderie, because while it is competition, there is a lot of camaraderie that's built in this.
Yeah, so all of our programs, what I notice is the young people who are involved love doing music and arts, but more so than that, when we have groups, they just love being together. They love the friendship that they can have through this, and like you said, the camaraderie. Star Search allows people to see what other people do as well. If you watch your friends and your colleagues, you can see some of the things that they're doing. You can see the progress. It really inspires you to grow alongside of them. So if you see someone who's your own age doing something, you said, I think I can do that. So it really helps people grow together.
Yeah. Well, I want to talk a little bit more, Andrew, about some of the other talent that's out there, because in addition to dance, there's so much more that you guys have that you're weighing through.
So we started as a brass instrument competition because the Salvation Army is very rooted in brass banding, which started over in England. But from there, now we've got, in addition to brass instruments, we have percussion, there's vocal solos, dance solos, acting, and we also have groups. So we have bands and choruses, dance groups as well. So there are there are 9 solo categories and 6 group categories that we have grown to now.
Yeah. Rosebelly, I don't want to put too much pressure on you here, but I'll ask you the question. How much do you think about, now that you know that you're going out to Hershey and you have to compete on another level, how much do you think about that?
A lot. I think about it a lot because honestly, it's not necessarily pressure. It's more of like a nervousness. But I know that once I start dancing, I'm going to feel comfortable. And, it's just a process. It takes time, but it's always on my mind. Like, it's never leaving my mind.
Yeah. Well, nerves are good. Take it from somebody who used to play basketball. I can tell you nerves are good, and I got another thing that I do every week. And if you don't feel nervous about what you do, that means that you got some more work to do. So keep the nervousness there. Congratulations. Look forward to seeing you out there in Hershey, Pennsylvania, and we'll follow up and find out how you do.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Andrew, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having us today.
All righty, Andrew and Rosbelly. Now, if you want more information, what I'm going to tell you to do is follow them on Facebook at GNY Music and at Instagram at GNY Music Creative Arts. Now, we encourage you, don't go anywhere. We'll be back with more Open coming up right after this.
My character, Shazam, knows all about growing up in a family full of teenage superheroes. They're bold.
Where's everyone going?
To fight crime?
Okay. Adventurous. Shazam! There's never a dull moment. And no matter what happens, they'll always have your back. All they need is a place to grow and be themselves. And the best part is, you don't have to be a superhero to adopt a teen. Learn more about adopting a teen from foster care. Visit adoptuskids.org. You can't imagine the reward.
And welcome back. SUPLMNT is a Black-owned business focusing on the urban culture and striving to raise awareness about the significance of hydration, health, and wellness within urban communities. And here now to share more, we've got the founder and CEO of SUPLMNT, Jairus Morris. And good to have you, brother.
Good to have you, man. Thanks for having me here.
Yeah, well, you're tackling a pretty special topic. When we talk about water, obviously it is necessary for life.
Right.
But you're taking it to another level because you feel as though people need to know it from a different perspective.
Exactly. I definitely, I created it because insulated water bottles, the space was really being dominated by like the affluent white America, people that already, they try to say already know about hydration. And in the urban community, it's just something that just wasn't that talked about, at least for me growing up in South Philly. Nobody told me the importance of drinking water, staying hydrated, anything of those nature. So when I wanted to start this brand, I wanted to kind of focus more on the people versus how the other brands kind of focus more like on the environment.
Right. And so when we talk about hydration, what is it that we should be focusing on when it comes to hydration?
It's just knowing what to put in your body. A lot of times in urban communities, we focus on just drinking like high sugar drinks, Kool-Aid, juices. Most of the time, our parents never even tell us, like, after coming out from basketball to come in the house and like, yo, make sure you're drinking a proper amount of water per day. And we don't. So, the long-term effects that this has on our health is kind of crazy. You think that some of these things are hereditary when most of the time you're just kind of doing the same things that your parents did before you. So if they didn't drink water, you're probably not drinking no water either.
And so when we talk about image is everything, right?
It is.
Image, everything, obey your thirst. We're not going to talk about that, but oh, right,
Right.
But when you talk about thirst, obviously image and we look at your things, you got image here.
Right.
And you're saying that you're trying to create an appeal, I also think, for if you're not into water, here's a good way to get into it.
Yeah, so I'll give you the quick rundown. So like when I got into the industry, I saw a bunch of the different bottle brands, and most of them wanted to gear their product to like maybe like save the oceans, like plastic, or maybe they wanted to create the most indestructible bottle that if it fell, it didn't dent. So they weren't really thinking about the aesthetics. They were thinking more so about the environment and the actual product. So we wanted to design this to like actually appeal to the consumer that we wanted to target, which was the urban, affluent Black and brown community. So we decided to like, do different elements because we're big in sneaker culture. Everybody knows we love to wear sneakers and fashion and stuff like that. So we wanted to make sure we incorporated different elements such as rubber boots, like symbolizes the bottom of your shoe, the shoestring carrying loop, different pop colors and stuff like that. So it can actually like go aesthetically with your outfit versus like taken away from it. So, we wanted to make it more like a cool thing to do, a fashionable thing to do, while us preaching the whole entire message of hydration. So the more people that have the bottles, the more you'll see and realize that, okay, people are starting to like pick up on hydration based on like the messaging that we have behind the brand.
Right. So many times this is the first door opener to be able to see this and say, hey, and now we have a conversation about hydration.
Exactly. The first Black-owned insulated water bottle brand in the market, period.
That's it.
That's it.
And for you, that's got to be a great feeling knowing, first of all, that you're helping the culture, but at the same time also embracing it too.
Yeah, I think that's what it's all about. It's embracing the culture, but they gotta identify with it. The other brands, I felt as though like I didn't identify with it. So that's really how I came up with it in the first place. I would, go to their websites, check out their marketing, see who they're targeting, and I was like, man, like, I don't know about you, but I haven't been hiking on Mount Everest or in the middle of the ocean in Canada kayaking. So I wanted to, create a brand that resonated with us, like, playing basketball, going to cookouts, different things like that. So yeah, that's pretty much how we got here.
So we have a few. Walk us through some of what's.
Yeah, so I wanted to bring a couple different flavors, a little bit of varieties. We do, we have tumblers. This is a 20-ounce tumbler. Also keeps your stuff cold. We work with different artists. We like to shed light on different small town artists that, don't really get to put their merchandising on different products. So, we have the capabilities to do all different kinds of custom bottles. So this was an artist we work with out of Las Vegas. But we also do the corporate thing. We do corporate gifting, corporate bottles. This is a bottle that we did with the Yankees and Poland Spring. And then I wanted to just kind of showcase a couple of the other, just like our basic colors, as well as like the straw lid bottles and everything like that we have. These are our 24-ounce tumblers. Keep your stuff cold 24 hours, hot for 12.
For yourself, as you look and you say, hey, I want to look towards the future, what are some of the things you're trying to do?
Yeah, so we're all about hydration. So honestly, it's really just creating more ways to educate the community on hydration, whether it's creating the larger sizes, which we do have coming up. But there are a lot of different things that we're trying to do, set up hydration stations in urban communities so that people can, have like a central place to get clean water, because just right over the bridge in Newark, they have a problem with lead in their water. So we've been partnering with like the Newark Water Coalition to make sure that we're donating bottles to make sure that people in that community can have like actual clean drinking water. So it's different, a ton of different things like that. There's a ton of cities that we got to reach. So the more we grow, the more we can do.
And you also have, and you spoke about giving back, and that's
Right.
also a portion of what you do.
Yeah.
Stuff that's
Big thing.
that you earn. Talk about your give back policy.
Yeah, so our give back, our whole entire thing towards give back is pretty much, we have single wall bottles as well as these ones. So we partner with different nonprofits. So far as the one in Newark, we have one in Chicago. We partner with these different communities that have issues drinking water, or maybe like the Boys and Girls Club, they have different issues with people not drinking enough water. So we like to show up, we like to talk about hydration, give a lot of hydration facts. Some people don't even know how much water they should be drinking, or if they should even drink water every day. Knowing that you can get water from fruit, that's a whole nother different topic. So it's just so much different things as far as like the education piece, because once you give somebody the education, then they're able to kind of go out and just like kind of figure stuff out and make better decisions going forward. So the give back is us donating bottles, doing hydration stations, but most importantly, giving people like the tools so they can make better decisions going forward.
Jairus, how do people get in touch if they want to know more about hydration, get connected on the hydration front, or just want these beautiful bottles?
Yeah, man, listen, go to our social media, SUPLMNT, SUPLMNT. We're constantly doing cool stuff on there as far as educating on the importance of hydration, doing it in a more comical, fun way that you can follow, as well as our website. We're constantly posting and doing stuff like that. But also, social media is probably the best place because you'll be able to see where we're at, where we're going, where I'll be speaking next. And you can go to www.supplement.com where you can grab all these different flavors of bottles. And yeah, if anything, shoot us a DM.
Yeah.
Love to talk.
Is there a misconception that you find when you're out there talking to people about hydration? Because I think so many times people think that, it's not cool to drink water.
Yeah, that's the biggest misconception. Honestly, when I do these vending events outside and I'm like talking to people, trying to get them to come to the table to get a bottle, the first thing they say is like, man, I don't even drink water like that. And it's just like, it's just one of those things that we kind of got to overcome as like a culture. Because like I said, you're kind of just doing what people before you were doing. So like if you didn't see other people drinking water, 9 times out of 10, you're not going to drink water. And then just, later on in life when you diabetes start kicking in, high blood pressure, all that stuff, you're like, man, this stuff runs in my family. Like, nah, man. Remember 10 years ago you said it wasn't cool to drink water?
Right.
But yeah, so like how we do it is we just try to make it more cool, like, doing cool collabs with different other cool brands. Like this is a bottle we did with Slam. Everybody's familiar with Slam Magazine.
Right.
And, like stuff like this helps validate the whole point. Like, yo, man, like even, the brands you grew up on is trying to promote drinking water. So, do yourself a favor.
Jairus,
Stay
pleasure
hydrated,
meeting you, man.
You already know,
Thank
man.
you so
Appreciate
much.
it. Definitely.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, I want to let people know now, if you want more information, visit the website at supplement.com. And then also follow them on Instagram at Supplement. We encourage you, don't go anywhere. We got more open coming up right after this. We got to get hydrated.
We all know what it's like to feel alone. But it just takes one new connection. Want to get out of here? To empower many.
This is unbelievable.
It doesn't take a superhero to bring forces together. We all have the power to reach out.
Let's go!
And help someone feel like they belong.
Pretty cool, huh?
We are stronger together.
How do you know when you've made the right decision? It's the feeling you get in your gut. The one that tells you what's right or wrong. It's the one that says, sure, I can have a drink. Or the feeling that says, okay, I've been drinking. Now what? It's the voice inside you that says, I'm buzzed. Better leave the car when it's time to go. Plan ahead. Catch a sober ride. Buzz driving is drunk driving.
And we are back. Summer is just around the corner, can't you wait? And it is that time of year when homeowners are actually across the country starting to plan, prep, and plant in the yard. But with drought conditions returning in many parts of the country, it can be difficult to create lush outdoor spaces while being mindful of the environment and water conservation efforts. And joining us now, giving us some tips to help are experts from Scott's Miracle-Gro, Amy Enfield and Matthew Koch. And thank you both for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Amy, I'll start with you. You know, here in New York, I live upstate a little bit, and to have the opportunity to have warm weather is great. I'm excited. I'm all for it. But for many people, it really is a huge concern when it comes to drought, and a lot of people are being affected by it. Talk to us really about how a person can really break down and get ready to deal with the drought conditions, because I love it. The sun comes and the sun stays, but for somebody else who's got that lawn and garden outside, they need the water.
Well, I'll give you some tips about the garden, and you can be really successful with a garden out in New York, even during drought periods. I lived out there for 4 years. I fought it. And the first is to start with really good soil. And with good soil, most of the area is going to have kind of sandy soil, and the water drains really quickly, so you get no benefit from what you do apply. So if you add organic matter like garden soil or Miracle-Gro garden soil into your garden beds before you plant, it's going to help the soil retain that water, and it's going to add nutrition to the plants, and so they're going to be happier and healthier, and you're not going to have to water quite as frequently. And then once your beds are planted, make sure that you mulch. Most people mulch because it makes everything look nice, aesthetically pleasing. Our landscape beds look pretty, but more importantly, that mulch is going to keep water in the soil longer, so you don't have to water as frequently. And if you do find yourself having to water, make sure that you're doing it properly. Direct that water to the base of the plants near the roots. And the benefit of that is then it's just not going to evaporate into the air. That water's actually going to go into the soil. I actually like to put soaker hoses in my garden bed and then put the mulch on top of it, because it's a great way to keep the water right where it's needed.
Yeah. Matthew, a little bit more about conserving water. What are some of the things that we can do to better conserve water?
Yeah, so for your lawn, I think there are 3 easy tips that any homeowner can follow. The first is to feed your lawn. There's no doubt that feeding your lawn makes the plants healthy and drives those roots deep, so that way the plants can mine for deep water and nutrients. And another great tip is to mow your lawn higher. I know some of us like to mow our lawns low and may cringe at the thought of raising your mower deck, but this is the time to do that, is to raise the mower deck up, because what you do to the top of the plants, you do to the bottom. So if you're mowing low, you'll have shallow roots. So by raising your mowing height, you have deeper roots. The final tip is to use what Mother Nature gives you efficiently. Nothing makes me cringe more than when I see irrigation running when it's raining. So when it's raining, make sure you're giving letting Mother Nature do its thing and only irrigating when it's necessary. Another great benefit of feeding your lawn is also when the drought conditions alleviate, your lawn will rebound.
We talk about a living outdoor space, and so when I have a living outdoor space, how do I make that more effective at the same time while I am doing this thing about conserving water?
So you can incorporate things like drought-tolerant plants, but I always like to caution adding drought-tolerant plants because until they are established in the landscape and have that root system established, they're going to need more frequent watering. But the benefit is once that root system's established, you can pretty much rely on Mother Nature and still have a beautiful garden. I will just caution, if you do want to have a vegetable garden, that's going to probably be your biggest water suck during the season, because if you want good fruit, the minute you start seeing flowers on those plants or the beginning of like tomatoes and peppers forming, you got to make sure that you keep that soil consistently moist or you're going to lose your fruit. Otherwise, you rely on Mother Nature and let those plants tell you when it's time to water.
Yeah, I see Matthew shaking his head. Talk to me about those big mistakes that people are making during this time of year. What are some of those mistakes?
Well, I think a big mistake that people tend to make, especially with their lawns, is planting the wrong species for their area. There are definitely pluses and minuses to grass species and grasses that are more adapted to certain regions of the United States. So in your area, like New York, Kentucky bluegrass is a great option. That is tried and true. It will recover well from droughty conditions and also look great throughout the year.
Any other tips you want to give us for New York right here in the borough, the Bronx? We're excited because, you know, it's been a long time coming for this warm weather, and we're glad that it's here. But at the same time, we also understand for those of us who've got lawns and gardens and stuff like that, it can also go wrong, too.
So 2 additional watering tips. One is when you water deeply. You want to make sure, as Matt talked about earlier, you mow high because it gives deeper roots. If you water deep, it's going to help the roots dig deeper into the soil. So less frequent deep watering is better than frequent shallow watering. And then water in the morning before 10 a.m. or in the early evening between 4 and 6, and really avoid that heat of the day where most of the water just evaporates rapidly. Yeah. Do you have any tips for the lawn?
No. For the lawn, I think actually your recommendation about watering early in the morning and early in the morning is a great one. One thing you don't want to do is water in the middle of the day, like you said, evaporation, but also promote disease. So keeping your lawn healthy is a great way to deal with these droughty conditions.
You know, I'm sitting there, I'm looking on a personal note, I'm looking right behind you, and I see you know, Scott's Miracle-Gro. I see, you know, the potting behind you. And I want you to know, my mother's deceased about 10 years, but every year she would have that big bag out, and she would be doing her thing around this time of year. So it kind of just brings it back home to me. But give us some tips for somebody who's out there, you know, and they want to get started. What should they do, and what should they avoid real before we go?
Start simple. Don't go all in. Start what you think you can maintain and probably half it. So if you think you have enough time to do a full landscape, I'm going to say do half of that, because it does take more work than you sometimes think it does. Start with a couple container plants. You can keep the couple container plants alive, then branch out and do more. Start simple and build up as you gain knowledge and become more confident in your abilities.
But Amy, I had this big vision. I knew I could but I got to start small. Okay, I got you. Well, Amy, Matthew, thank you for being with us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All righty, Amy, Enfield, Matthew, Koch, who are with Scott's Miracle-Gro. Thank you so much for being with us. Listen, if you want more information, visit the website, scottsmiraclegro.com. Follow the advice. Start small. Don't go big. Wait until you get it under control, and then you can branch out and do better. Listen, we come to the end of our show today. I want to thank all of our guests for joining us, and most of all, you, the viewer, for tuning in. Now, if you missed any part of today's show, you can catch Recablecast on Optimum's Channel 67, Verizon Files, that's Channel 2133, or watch anytime on the web at bronxnet.org. Now, you can watch a brand new episode of Open with my girl, Rena Valentine, on Friday. That about wraps up this episode. I'm Daren Jaime saying take care, God bless, and most of all, keep this channel wide open.